capital expenditure, fiscal consolidation is fantastic. The drivers of domestic growth are there. We are doing what we can, and the government is looking at the private sector can step in.
A blueprint firmly aligned with India's long-term vision of Atmanirbharta by 2047.
Our government, led by Honorable Prime Minister Modi, has decisively and consistently chosen action over ambivalence, reform over rhetoric, and people over populism. We have pursued far-reaching structural reforms, fiscal prudence and monetary stability, whilst maintaining a strong thrust on public investment. Keeping Atmanirbharta as a lodestar, as a growing economy with expanding trade and capital needs, India must also remain deeply integrated with global markets, exporting more and attracting stable long-term investment.
A major boost for data and cloud infrastructure, FDI in data centers gets extended tax holidays till 2047, positioning India as a global digital backbone. From digital dominance to manufacturing muscle, the government is placing bold economic bets amid a volatile global landscape.
First, let me say that these are very complex times we are living in. There's heavy geopolitical fragmentation. There's a breakdown in global supply chains. Global polity is impacted, and it's very important that India at this point is fiscally responsible. It's fiscally prudent, and I would merely say that Finance Minister has been very disciplined in bringing the fiscal deficit down to 4.3%, bringing the GDP, the debt-to-GDP ratio down to 55.6%, and yet increasing the Capex spend to 12.2 lakh crores, which in effect really means that your Capex spend, effective Capex spend goes up to almost 4.4% of your GDP, which is enormous. It has never happened before in the history.
The first budget since Operation Sindoor, the allocations indicate careful short-term planning focused on phased growth over rushed procurements. A decisive leap towards India's defence modernization goal, keeping our long-term national security in mind.
We look at the defence budget, it's almost 18 to 20% increase in the defence expenditure. We have one new element now in the defense expenditure, which is called emergency procurement. It was there last year, but it has become much larger now. And hopefully it will continue into something called a fast-track procurement process, because they want to reduce the procurement time cycle for defense procurement. And that's the reason why you see this whole increase that you are seeing in defense expenditure. Even the capital expenditure has been increased by almost 25% by 2.35 lakh crores. And, I think whoever is in the defense industry is very thrilled with this, that whole continued push, which was, and no unnecessary surprises that came in the budget. So we are very grateful to Madam Finance Minister, who has delivered the continuity and delivered growth in this area.
Encompassing nuclear, data and defence, the NDD budget extends customs duty exemptions on nuclear power imports till 2035, strengthening India's clean energy ambitions.
If I look at the broader customs, it is about making manufacturing more competitive, making exports more competitive, focusing a lot on simplification, and those areas which are of strategic importance to India. How do you ensure that you get power and others and build the new power plants on a more competitive basis so it encourages manufacturing overall?
The railways also gain momentum, with a 10.2% rise in allocation laying the tracks for India's expanding future with 7 high-speed rail routes. The blueprint for a stable budget that looks at the long term in an uncertain global environment.
One member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, Sanjeev Sanyal, joins me now. Sanjeev, hi, good evening. And thank you for coming this evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Sanjeev, this budget, you know, some people have said there is no singular headline in the budget. No one big announcement. Not one big fiscal surprise or a taxation surprise. It wasn't a major event in that sense, is the critique. I would like you to respond to that first.
Well, I mean, ultimately the budget is a fiscal document. We have had a huge slew of reforms recently, the labor reforms, the European Union, India, FTA. So there have been a whole bunch of announcements on the economic front. The fiscal document should obviously, given that growth is, running at over 7%, inflation is not an issue. If we are not going to right now invest into macroeconomic stability, where will we? So if you look at the fiscal consolidation that's carried out, we are now seeing the fiscal deficit down to 4.3%. The debt-to-GDP ratio is now running a little above 55%, significantly down from the spike during COVID. So all of this is happening during a time when the rest of the world is facing serious problems maintaining macroeconomic stability and debt dynamics. So I think the main signal that is being sent is that, look, we have decent growth and very controlled inflation right now. We are investing in the foundations of macro stability. And by the way, it's not just the fiscal. Just 2 days ago, the economic survey also came out and showed that the net NPA levels of the banking system is down at 0.5%, the lowest in a long time. So macro stability is the first signal being sent, and therefore you've also seen no populist reveries for state elections either.
No populist reveries for state elections?
State elections.
But doesn't that happen at a state level nowadays? Because every political party is competing at a state level. And that's not stopping even in Bengal or Assam or anywhere else.
Maybe. Maybe the case, but the central government, as you can see, has clearly signaled macro stability as being an important anchor for the next 25 years of growth. You very often don't give enough credit to macro stability, except when things go wrong and inflation goes spiraling out or something like that. But to have sustained the world's highest GDP growth rates with inflation being essentially non-existent, in fact, some may argue even that it's too low, is a very creditable performance.
Sanjeev, the government announced a tax holiday for any foreign company that provides cloud services to global customers and to Indian customers through Indian reseller entities. Essentially, the idea seems to be at data sovereignty, but what was interesting was that this was all the way to 2047, which means there's a long-term view, that we need to take a long-term view. This is the government's position. This is not today's government's position. This is the position of the government of India. Could this, first of all, I want you to explain that to some of our panelists, everyone who's here. Subhranshu, right? We'd love to hear. Sushil Kedia is with us. Lokesh is with us. Am I asking the right question on this? Absolutely. You want to add something on that? Subhranshu wants to add something on that. Yes, Subhranshu, yeah.
Sanyal is absolutely right. I think this is a method budget. It's played in the test cricket style, not T20. I think there's an eye on the second horizon as well. There was nothing knee-jerk. There was nothing reflexive. There's no panic. Modi 3.0 seems to be very poised, very comfortable in its skin. I think the purpose of the budget is not to tickle the market on any given day. So I think this is reflecting for the long term. And, I take that. But my point was to you, particularly, Sanjeev, that why take this tax holiday all the way up to 2047?
Well, this is a strategic call. So let me explain. You see, we have this huge digital industry. We all love our software and IT industry. But let us be very clear. We are vulnerable in very fundamental ways. Much of all of this AI and all these kinds of things that we are doing are not happening out of servers that are based in India, which is almost like keeping your foreign exchange reserves in somebody else's vaults. If they want to switch it off, they'll switch it off. So, you can invest all you want in defense. If in a digital world, switching your digital system off is good enough. Now, of course, we will invest in it ourselves, but having some of this based physically in India is, I think, a geostrategic investment. It's not merely an economic thing. It's a geostrategic investment thing. So I think we do need to give investors, including foreign investors, enough visibility to be willing to put serious money on the ground on this.
Yes. PK, does this mean you think that Microsoft, Google, Amazon will all start using more Indian data centers?
Yes. The idea is that they will be induced to do things like that. It may not be necessarily Microsoft, it may be new players. But the size of the investment that they put into India could pay off massively because we have an enormous cost advantage. And therefore, it makes sense for both the existing and emerging players to take advantage of this enormous opportunity, 21-year tax holiday, to really place massive amounts of investment into India, where the skill sets are available to fully exploit the opportunity.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Those investments are already flowing in much before the budget.
Yeah.
Google's made a big announcement for a data center in Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah.
Amazon is already very big in terms of localizing cloud-based data centers in India. But the more important point is, let's not forget that India is also already amongst the largest, if not the largest, base of individual subscribers for large language models like ChatGPT.
I'll do those wall graphics later. Thank you so much. Yeah, please. Yeah.
ChatGPT, for example, has Indians are the #1 subscriber population on the planet.
Yeah.
And as the economy grows with 1.3 billion people, it makes eminent sense for the large players to have data capacities in India as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Aditi. Thank you, Aditi. Not too many instructions, please, while I'm anchoring. Tell me, Sanjeev, I'm trying to get a headline out of this budget. I'm finding it difficult. And that should not be the case. You agree with me, PK? Yeah, so we say, yes, there's a long-term view. We were told that Part B will be extremely sort of, noticed by the global community as giving a long-term vision. Second point I take with a long-term view is the bolstering on defense. I'm trying to build a theme here that there's a long-term view, but is there? Possibly on defense, there's an 18% increase. Then there is on nuclear, there is a transition, there's a view to harness nuclear power, so there's exemption on custom duty on import of goods required for nuclear power projects till 2035. But after that, I'm drawing a blank. After that, Sanjeev, I'm drawing a blank. I'm not quite sure.
Macro stability.
If I'm missing something. Pardon me? Macro stability.
See, now, this fiscal year, we've had two things already.
I don't know why.
We've already had a substantial reduction in the GST in the course of the fiscal year. Halfway through the fiscal year, the GST reforms were put into place. And what is interesting is that despite the reduction in GST rates, we are continuing to see GST revenue stay strong. It has grown about 7.5% year on year in calendar year 2025. And there's a lot of focus that people have on the weakness of EPS growth. But what is interesting is that if you look at corporate tax revenue growth, in the last 12 months, we now have data for December, which came out the day after the economic survey. So that shows a very strong pickup in corporate tax revenue. And as a result, in the first 9 months of the fiscal year, the fiscal deficit was only 54.5% of the full year target. Of course, that was helped by non-tax revenue. But on the tax revenue side, corporate tax revenue is picking up strongly. And income tax revenue, despite the cuts in last year's budget, rates were cut across the board, continues to grow around 6.5%. So we have a very robust economic picture. Macroeconomically, we are likely to grow 8.5%. I think the government is being highly conservative with a 7.4% forecast for this year.
No, but I just one point. Just one point. One point. Let me push. Let me 1 minute. Sanjeev says that the big headline is macroeconomic stability.
Current account. No,
just PK. Hold on, PK.
Why should you underestimate
strategic investments?
PK, 1 minute. Is that? See, no, so, I'm not saying why. I'm not saying why. It was mentioned earlier today as part of our analysis that there have been many countries that hit a 4 trillion mark, but didn't grow as aggressively as China did after hitting a similar figure. And this is a reality, that many countries hit a 3-4 trillion mark, but didn't grow beyond that. China is actually one of the exceptions. And I was just wondering whether it would be too cynical a view to say that while we emphasize stability, we need to go a little bit beyond macroeconomic stability to look at clarity in terms of where is the big announcement / push / vision on manufacturing, for example. Yeah, am I right here? Am I asking for the moon and the stars?
I'm sorry.
And everything combined here?
Arnab, no, Arnab. No, Arnab, you have to understand that a budget is a fiscal document. Its emphasis must be on macroeconomic stability. In a country we are seeing GDP growth growing well over 7%. Inflation is not under pressure. Emphasizing fiscal consolidation is not a trivial thing. And as I mentioned earlier, we have also had dramatic improvements in the health of our financial system. Why are you underestimating this?
No, I'm not
fiscal exercise is not for creating
headlines
for the media. It has got to do with
Sanjeev, I'm not underestimating anything. I'm just asking you whether beyond macroeconomic stability there is a big story that we need to look at.
The big story is that India is the fastest growing economy in the world. And, we are achieving this growth without stressing the macros. This is not a trivial issue. And as PK just pointed out to you, and you yourself also mentioned, one of the things of history is that you do see countries go through phases of growth. Like, for example, the Southeast Asian countries went through, in the 90s, a phase of growth. But then they did it with macroeconomic, making massive macroeconomic sacrifices on their financial system.
Yeah.
The result was that after 5-6 years of high growth, it all fell apart. What we are doing is bolstering the foundations so that we can keep doing this 7%. And remember, we are doing it under a situation where the world is in extreme disarray. Now, supposing the world does fall into place and this global trade situation improves, we will be easily able to sustain 8% plus growth rates. But to do that, your economy has to be around in a good shape to take advantage of the high growth phases, which is what China did in the 2000s. It's not like China grew fast throughout the entire phase. It's basically between 2001 and 2007, it grew at double-digit rates. But for that, it had to hang around past the Asian crisis and be able to do that. What we are doing, consequently, are creating the foundations for that. And meanwhile, we are still growing at very, very fast rates. It's not like we are growing at slow rates. 7.4% is not to be sniffed at.
No, nobody's sniffing at it. I'm just asking you that you said that its budget is a fiscal document, and hence, essentially, it is the fiscal numbers. It is not meant to be a larger policy statement than that, and that, I believe, is part of an overall trend over the last few years, not to expect too much out of the budget, right, Abhishek?
Yes, most of the reforms happen outside of budget.
Outside of the budget.
Tax Act outside of the budget, and many others.
Yes, absolutely. Lokesh.
Surprising is
Arnab, may I also point out?
Just 1 minute, PK, 1 minute. Yeah.
What's surprising is a 20-year roadmap in an annual budget. I mean, if you talk about the semiconductor policy, rather than government coming out with a concrete idea of setting up a semiconductor unit or a semiconductor park, But then a long-term policy up till 2047 is something.
Semiconductor units, big ones.
No, that is
from Assam to Gujarat to Tamil Nadu to Punjab. So it's
I'll just let me just complete. Let me just complete.
It's not that things are not happening.
No, the point is India is yet to have an ecosystem, foundries, and having back and front end linkages, and then having a connect with the VLSI designing system and developing the sales distribution. It's a long way to go ahead. So okay, I find that Capex expenditure has stated a multiplier effect for the economy in a short term time period. But such a huge long term project, such as semiconductor, which requires probably a gestation period of 5 to 10 years, and trying to embark upon a policy in an annual budget that is supposed to take over the manufacturing is something which doesn't align with the overall sentiment and what Mr. Sanyal is saying. It's a fiscal statement. It's a fiscal sheet altogether.
What point you're making?
What I'm saying is that the budget should have spoken more on the fiscal front.
I would like to, I see, we can keep complaining and you guys can keep debating this. But going back to Sanjeev. Sanjeev, not much was said on the tariffs issue. Obviously,
Yes,
there are geopolitical uncertainties. You cannot expect there to be a political statement on what Donald Trump is doing. But a lot is done to boost domestic manufacturing, especially, vis-a-vis pharma, rare earth, semiconductors. So is there a subtle message to the West, or rather to America, or to the West, America/West, which is embedded somewhere in the budget, which you can perhaps elaborate a little bit more on?
So our approach to the US tariff issue has been the same. We will not back down, but at the same time, we will not escalate the matter. So we continue
Sanjeev,
to negotiate
on air,
with
two
the
windows.
US.
Thank you.
In fact, we have
please continue.
We have very substantially agreed to between us what such a budget would, such an agreement would be like. But as I said, we will not back down on core issues, and we will continue to push through where we can. And so we have with the European Union, with the UK, with Australia, with UAE, we are very close to with something with Chile, and so on and so forth. So we will push along. And I think as the Honorable Commerce Minister had said, we were not going to sign on to anything with a gun to our head. And why should we? Our growth is in good shape, and we seem to be making progress anyway. So we can wait if necessary. But yes, if a mutually conducive situation can be arrived where we can sign up to a trade deal with the US, we will be very pleased to do so. But we will not back down on our core demands. That has been the case. Meanwhile, we will chug along and push through, as I said, long-term things like what we have seen in the budget on whether it's biotechnology or nuclear or cloud facilities and so on.
Right. We have Nilesh Shah, Managing Director of Kotak Mutual Fund, also joining us. Nilesh, markets say this is a quiet budget, no tax shocks, no big giveaways. Is that precisely the point? Stability over spectacle?
Undoubtedly. Though from a market point of view, STT hike was unexpected, and which is why market has fallen. But I'm sure market will appreciate that this is the first budget where capital expenditure is more than the net market borrowing program. We have narrowed the gap, but moved in favor of capital expenditure first time. This budget is on fiscal prudence also. And as Sanjeev mentioned, it is investing for the future, from biosimilar to container manufacturing to data center to contract manufacturing. So net a prudent budget.
Has India, therefore, Nilesh, entered a phase where budgets are no longer about yearly announcements, but more about laying the long-term vision, the 5, 10, 20-year economic rails?
Undoubtedly, the budget have to give annual financial statement, but beyond that, it must be spending over a period of time. For example, we announced RDI fund to invest about 1 lakh crore in futuristic industry and the research and development. we can't allocate 1 lakh crore in one budget. So the prudent was spread over 5 years and provide 20,000 crore a year. Similarly, in this budget also, there are many investment proposals which will spread over number of years, like 7 high-speed railway corridors. So budget should do one annual financial statement and guardrail for future exceeding maybe about 5 to 7 years.
On the point which was raised here earlier by Sanjeev, I'm curious to just take a view from my panel here, and then I'm coming to both of you. Kishore, you have a specific... I had a question here, actually.
Yeah.
We have said today that we'll give a tax holiday on cloud services all the way till 2047. This is an unusually long commitment.
Yes. Yeah.
There is some message the government is sending here. I think it is testing the waters. It is saying that to Amazon, Google, and all these, that if you want to run the world's cloud and AI workloads, then you base your infrastructure here. At a time when Trump is saying, bring your infrastructure and your jobs here, India is saying, bring your infrastructure here. And if you do so, we are committing to you a tax holiday till 2047. I'm surprised nobody picked up that bait when I said, what is the message to the West? This is the biggest message we could have sent. Am I right? Biggest message we could have sent to the...
There are two messages here. One is that, yes, we are interested in our data protection and ensuring that Atmanirbhar Bharat is also achieved through this, and the counter policy measure of what is happening with H-1B visa in America and the tantrums, as I call it. The second point is that there is a very subtle political messaging. I don't know whether people have picked up. I think so. That till 2047, we are here as a party. So 25 saal ka
No, I don't think that's the point. I don't think the point is this. I'm sure this will get some attention globally. Won't it, Subhranshu? Lokesh, that India is saying we'll give you a tax holiday if you base your deep tech/cloud infrastructure in India. If you shift your focus, don't do what Trump is telling you to do. Do it what is in your interest, because we are the growing economy of the world. The market is here. The early bird, wins out here. Lokesh, Subhranshu?
Very much in line with the Data Protection Act that will be executed next year, 2027. And India has given a clear message to the West that we will not be depending upon you for our tech, as a tech destination, rather than, in fact, it's the right tune. We will be able to capitalize upon the brain drain reverse that is happening.
Yes.
We shall be creating a lot of opportunities. In fact, a lot of people coming back can invest in India.
One at a time, 1 minute. Subhranshu.
Underestimate the power of cloud capital. This is something that only America and China possess at this point in time.
Yeah.
Europe, for all intents and purposes, is a client. India is saying now, come here, strike root. We want our share of cloud capital. That's a very important message.
I want to take on that from the director of IIT Madras, recently awarded the Padma Shri just a few days back, Professor Kamakoti. And he has done some absolutely brilliant work on data sovereignty. He's working closely with every issue of national interest. He's a member of the National Security Advisory Board as well. Now, Professor Kamakoti, thank you very much for joining us. This issue is something we are trying to decipher here. We have a great panel. We have got Sanjeev Sanyal, who's a member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. We have Nilesh Shah, great voice from Mumbai, MD of Kotak Mutual Fund. We are saying here that we will give a tax holiday on cloud services till 2047. What is the message we are sending to the global tech players?
Right. See, the major issue today we are facing, which can actually be a security issue, which can also be a bigger issue from a privacy point of view, is that our data must reside within our own country, within our own shores. And that requires multiple things. It means that we need to have our cloud services installed within our shores. That means we need to provide them a lot of energy and other cooling and other related issues. There'll be some amount of energy investment and water type of investments there. But then the other important side of it is that our data will remain within our shores. And we are coming out with PDPR and other rules and regulations. And with the advent of AI, these rules are going to keep changing. It's going to be dynamic. And it will take at least, in our opinion, many of us agree that it will take at least a decade by which we understand the rules of the game of AI and what we can share and what we can't share. Now, given all these things, it is very important that we maintain the clouds within our country, and everything may not be possible by just Indian vendors, but we may also attract foreign vendors to come and put their cloud services here, but with a tight security thing that they don't take the data out of our country. And for that, we need to give some subsidy, and I think that is the reason why we are giving some subsidy for cloud services. So this is my understanding of this whole thing. Arnab. Thank you.
You know, one. We have a lot of questions.
One question I want to ask.
Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute here. I'll let Sushil come in. I'm getting in everyone there. We're trying to get a reading of this decision because I think that the big tech giants have large pendency of litigation across Europe now in terms of data breaches. So is the Modi government putting up guardrails to its booming digital infrastructure sector? Is the Prime Minister saying here, Professor Kamakoti, that see, India is going to be not just the leading consumer, but the biggest market for digital services globally by 2047? I am setting a condition today that if you work out of India, I'll change the rules for you. Is he trying to break the so-called unity between the tech players and in a way, interestingly, throwing a bigger challenge back to America?
So I must say that, this particular announcement is basically to protect the interest of all the data generators of our country, which is our public, right? So today, many of these large language models and all the other things, they think that they are actually serving our country, but actually, I did read some newspaper statement where some person had come, why are you giving ChatGPT free to India? Some statement like that. But it is not the case that we are the largest producer of data, and as you rightly mentioned, Arnab, we are going to have large-scale digital installations in the country. I can give you examples even before AI has come up. IRCTC is one of the world's largest, transaction system, largest distributed database, which we are all proud of today. Millions of people, book tickets. The transaction is mind-boggling. State Bank of India, these two are, and the National Stock Exchange. If you take these three, this itself shows the scale at which we operate. And so we are going to be the biggest data generators. And what this particular announcement essentially says very clearly, that you come and do something that is beneficial for my country, and then you can basically get certain.
So I'm going back to a headline. I know I'm coming. I'm going back to the headline because this is a very interesting conversation. And I'm deliberately going to Professor Kamakoti, gone to Nilesh, made Sanjeev think what direction I'm taking this discussion in, made you all wait because I'm getting a headline. See, I'm a reporter. I'll not end the show without a headline. My headline I would put would be, tell me, would it be fair to say, Subhrangshu, this budget has sacrificed a short-term applause? As my friend Sanjeev, when I provoked him a bit, said, we are not doing things for the media. He's right. It does not want a short-term applause because we are building long-term state capacity.
Absolutely.
Digital capacity, long-term state capacity we are building. We don't want short-term applause. We are thinking in decades and not election cycles.
That's right.
Subhrangshu.
China says it's running a 100-year marathon.
Yeah.
I think we have pivoted this to 2047 for right reasons. That is when India, as an independent country, gets to be 100. Also, don't forget the demographic dividend. 400 million Indians, Arnab, are not yet 20 years of age. And this is a saturation coverage of smartphones. This is a country of digital natives. And so data sovereignty, data localization.
Data is power, data is armor.
That's right.
Right? And this budget is telling the foreign companies that if you want to operate in India, work out of India. Set up shop in India. And let's see whether you do that. If you don't, we'll put our own guardrails. We've got people like Professor Kamakoti who will provide a parallel system. You see, the thing is, you got people working in it. Today we did a great play with Sarvam AI, by the way. Professor Kamakoti. The whole speech was translated into Kannada and Hindi. We had a little hiccups, but it was beautiful. So
on talk. Google, Meta, Amazon, TikTok have $700 billion out of the $1 trillion of advertising budgets that the world has seen last year.
Yeah.
So the surge in American equities has been led largely by the 7 top tech players. Them having a vested interest in India and being localized here is of great national importance to India as well.
Yeah. So let me now go back. I go back to Sanjeev out here. Critical sectors for the country, Sanjeev. Defense, 20% increase. Biopharma Shakti goes beyond generics into biologics and biosimilars. This is moving India up the pharma value chain rather than just exporting volume. Nuclear. On nuclear, we have given a tax holiday. Some kind, not a tax holiday. I think we've given on nuclear also, we have given customs duty exemption on import of goods required for nuclear power projects. So we are seeing a strategic...
2035.
Right? Up to 2035, right? Sanjeev? Up to 2035. So that's another interesting thinking. And now we have worked on this data center. So on all 4 are things that we'll reap benefits for 10 years from now, Sanjeev. It's not necessarily that we'll see the benefits of this in 2026, but maybe 2035, 2036 is the likely, date we are looking at.
And we have to begin to create these foundations. That's why we need to begin to do them today, because there's no point in having this huge IT sector when the entire basis of it is the cloud and you don't control it at all and someone can switch it off. The same thing is true for energy. You can, in the end, we are not a hydrocarbons-based system. We can create some solar, but solar is, or any other kind of renewable has a problem that, it's unreliable. So you need a backup. What is that backup? Nuclear. So all of this is being done with that in mind. There is no reason, given that there is no current economic pressure other than what you're seeing in the ups and downs externally, why we should not invest into these long-term things. If we are not going to do it now, when will we go out there and invest and think long-term?
Yeah, so then I see the hands go up there again. Professor Kamakoti's hand goes up.
I want to ask one question. What is the policy for GPUs? We don't even have hard disks manufactured in India. What about optical fibers? What about switch gears?
Let Professor Kamakoti answer
that. Right now, what is happening is, if we are...
I understand. He got the question. Let him answer that. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to add to what Sanjeev said, see, there are 2 very interesting announcements today, Arnab. As I mentioned, energy is going to be extremely important to run the complete data center and cloud. I'll come to the GPU part. See, today, nuclear, whatever subsidy has been given for nuclear, it is keeping in mind we have to look at small modular reactors, and I think that's going to be a very big investment, and that is how we can basically power these centers. And very interestingly, if you note, I don't want it to slip out, that we have really brought in carbon capture, utilization and storage, and there is a very interesting 20,000 crores, if I am right, if I just saw the speech, investment on that. And that is extremely important, because as a country, we have also given certain commitments under the Sustainable Development Goals on how we become net zero. So to run these data centers in a net zero form itself is a very good challenge and very big challenge. And I think there academia, industry and government will put that thought process together. So that is one point that I want to add. Now, coming to the GPUs, yes, we are not making GPUs, we are not making hard disks, so what? Now, what next? See, there are, when you look at computing, Arnab, there is a software layer, there is a hardware layer, and always it has been a very good combination. What hardware could not achieve, software was able to achieve, and what software could not achieve, hardware accelerated. And that is how the entire game of computer architecture has evolved over last several decades. Now, what we are doing, we are having a couple of startups. Someday, if you have a show where you can project some of our startups like Servam, etc., it'll be great. Where we are looking at a non-GPU, simple CPU-based inferencing mechanism. So there is, when you look at AI, there are two parts. One is to train the model. Another is to basically inference or ask queries to that model. So this inferencing can happen on a non-GPU environment, and we have stunning results which we will be bringing out. We have been working on those things. So that will also be a part of the data center deployment. And on the GPU side, there are other competing hardware that are coming up. For example, we don't want a GPU to be a sarvagya, like it understands everything in the world. There are something called domain-specific GPU LLMs, large language models, which can basically be trained on a very limited infrastructure.
Right.
And so we are looking at these type of solutions, and necessity is the mother of invention, and we will come out with those.
If there is such thinking, then Nilesh Shah, I go back to this, between the long-term macroeconomic thinking, the great attempt to build a data sovereignty, how do you decipher the immediate reaction of the markets today? If you see the market graphics, I can pull them up. Is there a fundamental weakness that was waiting to surface which emerged in the budget that caused that crash? What is in it for the FIIs? Was that the problem? Was it about the 0.05 or whatever percent STT on futures? Why did the PSU bank stocks crash? Are they not looking at the long-term view, Mr. Shah?
So today, the reaction of the market was driven by unexpected increase in STT. There were many speculators who realized that the cost of trading is increasing, and hence they started selling.
Yes.
There is also rumor that yesterday there was crash in precious metals, and today some of the commodity positions required margin, and brokers squared their position in equity market to pay for the margin on the commodity side. Be the case as it may be, market has reacted in the short term. But Arnab, please remember, we are still 6% below all-time high level on Nifty 50. There are very few markets in the world which are trading at that kind of all-time high level. Second, Chinese markets have done very well in last 2 years, but they are still trading where they were 17 years before. So we have done very well over last 17 years. This is the phase of consolidation. And most importantly for market, 2 quarterly earnings have been impacted by one-off things. One, labor cost expenses, which came suddenly, and the rupee depreciation hit as many of the companies were unhedged. There is an earning adjustment going on in the market. And on top of it, this STT hike came, which probably reflected in today's market movement.
So,
I have a question for both.
Just a point to Sanjeev. Sanjeev, are we setting up, we can be on that window, are we setting up a structural wireframe for a long-term superpower status? You know, I get a feeling that there's some very long-term thinking that's gone on, and maybe the media has missed the messaging so far, which is why I'm trying quite hard here. Sanjeev, and then I'll come to you. Sanjeev.
So I think that is exactly what is being done. But I think you should see the wider context and not just the budget. If you see the free trade agreement we have done with the European Union, it was an agreement between equals, something we would not have imagined doing just a few years ago. We have similarly done labor reforms. Just a few weeks ago, we announced, again, without any real social unrest. You know, imagine 10, 15 years ago, these kinds of reforms had been done. You would have had major agitation on the streets. But it went through, almost nobody noticed these. The amount of money raised, by the way, in Indian capital markets, since you're discussing capital markets, is today higher than has been raised in London. I mean, I and Nilesh started working in the mid-90s. At that time, you know, the Mumbai's capital markets were smaller than that of Bangkok. And today, the amounts of money that are raised in Mumbai's capital markets are simply at a different scale altogether. So I think we are now begin to thinking of ourselves as the world's third largest economy and as a world power that can deal with others. And as I said, even with the case of the US, while we have not escalated anything vis-a-vis President Trump's demands, we have also not bent at all. In fact, other than China, we have been the only country that has basically been steadfast in what we believe and what we think is the correct thing for our country.
Yes, absolutely. Sushil.
There is an ongoing, feeling about the way Modi administration works is, दूर के फायदे के लिए पास का घाटा उठाना पड़ता है. And even in this STT thing, which boggled my head कि government ने क्या किया, when sense starts sinking in, the mathematics is very simple here. The puzzle is solved. 15 times more expensive it will be for anybody to do options trading. As far as STT goes, 90% traders in the markets have been losing money. That's what the SEBI report was. So what happens is this uneven playing field between algorithms that cut people so fast. Now, 15 round trips that an algorithm used to take, it will pay so much in one round trip. So even this STT increment is not about hurting the common man, it's about de-hurting the common man.
Yeah,
so, it takes
everything
time
I'm seeing now, I'm seeing everything the Modi government is doing is actually in a pattern.
Yes.
We are not connecting the dots. So, for example, nuclear power. Nuclear power, last few months, if you see the number of headlines, government's ambition, we will scale nuclear power capacity to 100 gigawatts by 2047. Then you are doing the reverse engineering for that. Then you are pushed for the Shanti Act to remove all the legal and regulatory barriers to private consumption in the sector. Then you have given the exemption of customs duty on imports of goods required under nuclear power projects for 2035. So I think somewhere government is working with two dates in mind, 2035 and 2047. Am I right, Professor Kamakoti? Internal thinking?
Yes, exactly. So, for example, lot of milestones for the national education policy is 2035, right? So, GER improvement to 50% is 2035. So, bringing in multiple disciplines. We have 2035 also as a deadline. From an education sector, I'm very clear. And a lot of these schemes, especially the way this nuclear has developed, it's amazing because I think over a period of time when India is ready, our Indian producers, our industry is ready to give this small modular nuclear reactors, which are very important for these data centers. And I think at that point of time, everything that is needed would be in place. And that is a very cautious but very carefully planned step. I think that's also my view.
I think it requires us to look at it more like a relay race. And if you see the way in which, for instance, earlier we were discussing about manufacturing, not much has been done. I don't believe that's the case. India has never had a very strong manufacturing setup, and hence it's never become an
So can we conclude at the end of this wonderful conversation that actually the government has actually thought things through which are not making tomorrow's headlines?
Yes. I have one question.
No, but today, headlines are not being picked up. 600 legacy industrial estates, rail corridors, all of these are going to support.
Take 5 seconds.
Yeah, fine. One question with Sanjeev ji is that, do you think the disinvestment target, about 80,000 crores, seems to be very mildly...
Okay. Let him give a quick answer to that because I have to close this up. Yeah, Sanjeev.
Yeah, okay. The quick answer is this. That we remain committed to privatization and disinvestment.
Yes.
But what we have noticed in the past is that we came up with large targets and then we didn't miss it. We'd rather, depending on how the markets are behaving, do it as we go along, because we are under no fiscal pressure to do it. So no point in giving large targets and then being blamed you didn't hit it. Much rather we do it as it goes, and we get.
This has been a very unusual panel between a scientist, a macroeconomist, right, and a person from the financial industry. But we have connected the dots. If you watch this, there's a lot of meaning we found. Sanjeev, Nilesh, Professor Kamakoti, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this conversation on the long-term view. At 8 o'clock, again, I am back. We are continuing to decipher the budget. At 8 o'clock, the 6 Ds of the budget when I'm back.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
The United States, Israel and the MI6 of United Kingdom, they had launched a major regime change operation in Iran this year. The aim was not just to overthrow the Iranian government, but to splinter Iran along the ethnic fault lines of the Azeris, the Kurds and the Sunni Baluch. Israel was trying to help the Kurdistan fighters to come in, and also the Afghan refugees who were there. The United States, the CIA was working with Pakistan to induct large-scale induction of arms, small arms into Sistan, Baluchistan, the Sunni area of Baluchistan, the Sunni area of Iran. The plan was very highly ambitious. 40 to 50,000 Starlinks had been pushed into Iran because they knew that they would shut down the internet, and as abundant precaution they had put in about 50,000 Starlink terminals. This time the Russians and the Chinese seem to have warned Iran of the American playbook, and the Russian electronic warfare capabilities, the Chinese electronic warfare capabilities have been used to jam the Starlink terminals and cut off communications between the operatives on the ground and the intelligence agencies of Mossad and the CIA. Secondly, in June last year, when the United States and Israel had launched a combined attack to take out Iran's nuclear capability,
MDH की देगी मीरज,
देगी मिरज का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मीरज।
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा प्योर मसाला।
whose backyard is Iran? It's nobody's backyard, yet there are vital stakes there for the Chinese, for the Russians, the Americans. It is the oil cockpit of the world, and America wants to control the outflow. The problem is, sir, that Iran is not Venezuela. Iran can hit back and hit back hard. None of its capabilities to hit back have been degraded in the slightest degree. And Donald Trump had to eat crow and back off and start looking for off-ramps. The first off-ramp he chose was they had threatened to hang some 850 citizens, and because I pressurized them, they said they are not hanging them. They've said, the Supreme Court of Iran has said, yes, we will hang them. Off-ramp gone. So what does Donald Trump do? To save face, he starts moving in huge armadas. The Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States clearly told Donald Trump that, look, we thought there would be an overthrow of the regime, there would be chaos, and we would need only a small force level to deliver the coup de grace. Now that that has not happened, we'll have to increase force levels if you still want to go ahead with it. Frankly, it would be highly immature and foolish if United States still decided to go in. There is no surprise any longer. In June last year, the United States had gained surprised by the perfidy of saying we are going to have talks, and then they attacked while the talks had just started. So they were able to surprise the Iranians, who didn't want to really go in for a fight, right? But the simple fact is, now they know it is a question of survival. It is a question of existential threat to that regime. So, will Donald Trump still go in? He is building up forces. He is now tried to create a second off-ramp. This is an air exercise. Let Iran talk about the nuclear option. I mean, all talk of the regime, overthrow, change of regime, gone, finito. Now it's all back to the nuclear option. That means even if you are forced to go in to save your face, you could try and do June, repeat June. Go in for a token strike and tell the Iranians you can hit one of our bases which we will empty out. You know, Bahrain air base that Iran had still hit back. Though Iran also wanted an off-ramp, and so did the United States. This time, Iran knows it's now or never, and it has openly threatened to go the whole hog. He says any attack on Iran will be treated as an attack on act of war, and we will go all.
Ladies and gentlemen, deciphering the 6 Ds of the budget. We were having a conversation after the budget was presented, and Subhranshu Singh, a business leader, global board member of FE Lions, friend of ours and a friend of the network, said there were 6 Ds, Arnab, you need to look at. We will run a news package on this, Subhranshu. Would you please tell us briefly what the Ds stand for?
I thought it was interesting because somehow it worked out that it was all about discipline, that's fiscal discipline. It was about defense, so much greater outlay for that. Data in terms of data sovereignty and the huge tax window extending all the way to 2047. It was about decluttering, not only during the budget, but before. It has been on for a while. And then, of course, decriminalization, as in, in the tax code, not everybody needs to be thrown into jail. I thought, therefore, not only was it deep and disciplined, but I thought this was all coming together as Ds. That's why I passed you the note.
So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the 6 Ds of the budget as Subhranshu saw it. I'll run a quick package on that, and then we'll go straight to our next set of guests.
And it is deep, decisive, determined, and Deshbhakt. But those are not the Ds on which I would like to analyze and parse the budget. I have another 6 Ds in mind, which have come through loud and clear in this budget that Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman presented for the record 9th time. The first D is data, incentivizing the digital economy with tax holidays and incentives aimed at locating data centers within our national boundaries, providing digital infrastructure and emerging tech ecosystems, a huge push to make India a trusted global data and computational hub. The second D is declutter. There are a variety of ways in which ease of doing business, regulatory simplification, and reduced compliance burden will streamline approvals to lower friction for businesses and accelerate private investment. The third D is discipline. Fiscal credibility is about commitment to fiscal consolidation, and the deficit targets are tighter still and being delivered. There is responsible borrowing to assure markets, investors, and rating agencies. Remember, India, as a top 5 economy, is being watched across the world. The fourth is decriminalization, which means trust-based governance, rationalization of tax penalties, and removal of most criminal provisions for procedural or minor compliance failures, shifting from fear to facilitation. The fifth D is duties rationalization. Strategic industrial policy has targeted reduction of custom duties in priority sectors such as critical minerals, clean energy components, and the vital nuclear supply chain to support domestic manufacturing and energy security for today, tomorrow, and the long-term future. And the last but most significantly, in these volatile times riven with geopolitical stress, is D for defense. Strategic Capex and security, sustained and enhanced allocation of defense, manufacturing, indigenous procurement, and border and cyber infrastructure, linking national security with industrial growth. So in my assessment, it has been a 6 Ds budget. Thank you.
Okay. 6 Ds budget as defined there by Subhrangshu. I think that was a great job, Subhrangshu. Well done there. Really simplified the whole thing. Mohandas Pai, Chairman of Aaron Capital, Sohail Said, Brand Guru, Managing Partner, Councilage, very well-known figures to help us understand this budget. Mr. Pai, good evening. We spoke just before. And we had a great analysis of the budget from the technology, macroeconomic and fiscal point of view just a while back with Nilesh Shah, Sanjeev Sanyal and Professor Kamakoti. What is your big takeaway here? Is there really a long-term view or are we reading too much?
Well, I think it is a budget which carries forward the reform agenda. In the last year, they came out with the big bang reforms on taxes and both GST and personal taxes. So the tax to GDP ratio is reduced. And we have seen that the tax to GDP ratio for indirect taxes is now 4.3% for next year, compared to some 5.5% 5 years ago. That means the taxes on ordinary people has come down. And the taxes on direct tax share has gone up, which is very, very good because that is very progressive. And I think all these reforms to improve ease of business is pretty good. But I think there are big areas where they have not spoken, and I want to point it out, Arnab, because there's no point praising government for doing hygiene matters all the time, which they have to do. If Sanjeev is there, he'll understand that. What about tax disputes? There is 28 lakh crores of taxes in dispute. Last year's budget, I've not seen this year's budget. I just got the papers. I need to study how much it is. 14 lakh crores are stuck in tax disputes where assessee or assets are not available. 14 lakh crores are fresh, 80% last 5 years. Why don't we have a tax dispute resolution year in 26-27 to say, we're not going to raise fresh tax disputes. We're going to try to resolve all of them and reduce it and reduce the time for tax disputes. It takes 15-20 years and they go all the way to the Supreme Court. Why not increase the appeal limit to Supreme Court to maybe 100 crores, 500 crores? Why don't they obey the High Court decisions on tax disputes? Because I think that's a very important thing because these are all penalties are gone. These are all gone. That's fine. Those are small things which have to be done. But the big thing is the tax dispute. Second dispute is the powers of the tax officer to come and raid you. It's all internal. There's no protection for you and me or any citizen. They can decide what they want. They can record reasons in writing and they don't have to show it to you. They can do whatever they want, come to your house, sit down for 5 days and, harass you like what happened to the gentleman here who committed suicide. Now, these are big issues that have to be tackled because we need protection from tax collectors who go beyond the law because none of them get punished. 70% of tax disputes go against the department. Who is being punished? Nobody cares.
But is that something to be looked at in a budget? Mohan, just asking you here. Because increasingly budget is becoming, not the most consequential document as it used to be. Would you expect the budget to look at issues of tax dispute, tax terrorism?
Yes. No, I would expect the budget.
One minute. The panel is agreeing with you. I'm just asking. 1 minute. 1 minute. No, 1 minute. Do we agree with Mohandas Pai? You think a budget should address it?
Absolutely agree with Mohandas Pai ji, because these are important problems which citizens should be devoid from. For example, I've got a notice from the tax department asking me to produce a bank statement for a bank that's closed in 2016. How on earth am I going to produce that statement? And they're saying we don't know.
You agree with Mohandas Pai?
Absolutely, 100%. Fully I agree.
112 of the Constitution calls the budget an annual financial statement. And what you're talking about are structural reforms. This you can expect from the new tax code that is going. In fact, the budget, the finance minister has spoken.
The new tax code, my friend.
He's saying something.
He's come as part of the budget. Please be reasonable.
No,
please
don't interrupt.
Blindly support the government because you want to support the government.
Wait.
Talk reason, please.
No.
Please.
1 minute. Just listen to him. Don't quarrel. You agree with him. You agree with him.
Absolutely, yes.
Then he's saying that, listen, there is a problem here. There is a genuine problem here. You are saying I will provide a stable and predictable taxation to improve investor confidence. Okay, you are always asking what further reforms are required to reduce tax uncertainty. But also people will ask you, what about tax litigation? What about tax dispute? What about tax raid? You know, this is also sending us an atmosphere of uncertainty. Am I right?
And fear.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we live in fear in this country.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
No.
Due on 1st of April, the implementation, it deals with all these issues. In fact, if you look
at... It does not deal with these issues, please.
One minute. Lokesh. No, 1 minute. Okay. So Mohandas is saying it does not deal. Otherwise, he wouldn't have raised it. Mohandas Pai, you're saying it does not
give me a break. I read the law, please. I'm not an unpad. I read the law. It does not deal with it. In fact, the new act, Arnab, takes it forward. All your social media posts, all your digital assets, everything can be broken into if you don't give them the password. And to do that, you know what is there? The officer should have suspicion you avoided taxes. The superior officer, who 2 steps have, should have reason to believe. Then they come to you, they raid, and that is it. You have no protection. I suggested to the parliamentary committee, why don't you go to court and take a court order to come to your house to raid and to take your password. The court will protect you. They refuse.
Let me get Sohail in on this. Sohail, I want your thoughts on this point, which has now taken my first 10 minutes in a very animated discussion. We moved into what the government could have done on the tax issue. Sohail, your thoughts on this, please.
See, the citizen must be incentivized to follow the law. If a citizen follows the law assiduously and is then held up as an example of violating the law, it is stupid. It is a segue from the ease of business and the ease of, lawful, honest citizenship. The problem here, Arnab, is that the bureaucracy is the one that needs to be tamed. The politician has to seek election. The bureaucracy is there for life. They have a problem for every solution. I was born and raised in Calcutta. At that time, the communists were famous for having a problem for every solution. These Johnnies don't want resolution. You know why? Because in conflict, they remain powerful. In resolution, they are powerless. So we need a bureaucracy that understands that the citizen is not a criminal. The citizen is playing his or her part. Of course, there are a few who are.
Also.
Now, you tell me, Mohandas didn't mention this, but of 100 people who are raided, only 4% are convicted. So 96% are getting away. You're spending money on litigation. You're spending money on departmental procedures, all of that. Who's paying? Arnab Goswami and I. I don't know about the other chap whose bank is shut down if he's paying any more, but you know what I mean. I'm just joking. See, the issue here, Arnab, is we are at a great inflection point in India's economic trajectory. We now need to get the citizen on our side. The citizen is not an enemy. Please don't look at everyone with suspicion. There are a few bad eggs, but you don't destroy the entire farm. My point is, and I agree with Mohandas, the budget is the place, because the budget is the only thing that you guys report. Tomorrow, if Nirmala Sitharaman says, I'm reducing the tax to such and such thing, it'll be a 1-hour story. Today, Arnab Goswami has continued his tirade and his love for the budget all day. So it's an important document. And the budget, sadly, is a document or a procedure or proceedings that we view from a tax purpose.
You can't change windows in the
tax
You can't change windows.
So these are the real issues.
I'll give you an example.
This fellow always interrupts. this young chap
No,
always
I take
interrupts.
that point. I take that point. Can we look at the other aspects of the budget
Yes.
also, please, Mohan?
Can I? Okay. No, look, I commend the finance minister for financial management. Costs are under control. Capex has gone up. Borrowing has come down. Allocation has increased in certain sectors. And I think money is being spent, well, fairly efficiently. We can always quibble about subsidies and all that. There's an increase in Capex, which is very good, 12.1%. Tax collections are down this year because I think they underestimated the giveaway in income taxes. They only said 1 lakh crore. I think it'll be close to 2 to 2.5 lakh crores because, the tax to GDP ratio has come down despite some buoyancy in the economy. And I think that's very interesting because Sanjeev Sanyal, you always used to say, don't overtax people. It is better to leave money in the hands of consumers and citizens to spend. I think on that, they require a full credit. I think the finance minister has done a great job in managing the financial position of the government.
I have one politically incorrect thing to say, Arnab, on your program.
Yes.
This government is the only government which has the courage and should exhibit that courage to get rid of subsidies that are non-germane to the development of India. This nonsense of just pre-election 10,000 rupees to someone, 5,000 rupees to someone, 80
The
crores
judiciary has
subsidy.
attacked for
You have to make people responsible to earn money, not to get money.
No,
That money, if it was deployed,
but here again, I want to play devil's advocate with you.
would have actually worked
No,
for the
what is your problem with that? What is Mohandas Pai Suhel's problem with that? Because, one minute, just one minute. You see, the counter argument is, what's your problem, Sohail? What's Mohandas Pai's problem?
Because it is my money that is going for this and not for...
Well, you've got financial credibility, you've got the fiscal deficit.
And not low-income housing.
You got fiscal deficit under control. Your fiscal deficit trend is good. The long arc, your deficit trends are telling you the real story. The revenue deficit is under control. Debt consolidation has happened. There is responsible borrowing going on. So what is your problem? If the poor get subsidies, what is your problem?
Arnab, it is unpalatable for you and Mohandas to hear this. I'm going to tell you the unpalatable truth. We are facing...
You tell
a
Mohandas
job
Pai.
crisis.
1 minute. All that is unpalatable, you tell Mohandas Pai.
No, I'll tell you, whether you like it or not, we are facing a job crisis. Our MSME sector is under severe pressure and severe threat. Today, you don't have jobs. Now, no matter what you might say about AI, non-AI, you may say about manufacturing, we need job-driven growth, not jobless growth. A. B, the money that the government is spending on subsidies, if it was actually spending on certain sectors, it would help. Finally, in my opening remarks, I'm also going to say that tourism has not been ever given the fillip that it needs. Tourism and real estate are the largest employment generators, Arnab, the largest. And we hold them in such dismay and in such a despicable manner. Do you know, even today, a bank does not recognize tourism as an industry? These are serious problems. In 1 year, India gets as many tourists as Thailand gets in half a year. I mean, someone's got to look at these things. We had a National Skills Development Corporation. Still, we have a large unskilled labor force. You remember Narayan Murthy, Mohandas Pai's great friend and colleague, famously said that when we hire people at Infosys, 70% we have to retrain, even though they come out from sterling educational institutions. This is a cost. Who's bearing that cost? It's all right to say, हाँ भाई, आप रेवड़ी देते जाओ. Listen, remember, Arnab, you know this.
Dependence. 1 minute. The problem is that this is very harsh.
There is no free lunch.
That's very harsh.
Nirmala is borrowing from Arnab to pay Mohandas, or vice versa.
No, that's very harsh.
There's a free lunch anywhere.
That's very harsh.
It is.
Arnab.
It's the truth. The truth is always. You say the truth is always harsh.
No, but
We have learned from you. You have always said the truth is hard.
but poverty, people are not going to be lifted out of poverty. People need the food grain. People are not using the food grain to export to Cuba. They are having the food grain, which means there's a need for it. And subsidies are necessary. Subsidies, Mohandas Pai become necessary.
Dr. Ambedkar said about reservation. There is a time at which the subsidy needs to be either scaled down or withdrawn. You remember the old saying, you went to Oxford and Cambridge and all these fancy places. You can either give a man fish or you can learn, you can teach them how to fish. We have to start teaching our people how to fish. Giving fish is over.
Yes, Mohandas.
Arnab,
Yeah.
Arnab, let me put the problem in perspective. The total subsidies in the union government budget is about 4 lakh crores, a little bit above, and that is about 1%, just above 1% of GDP. But the problem is, total subsidies by the union government and the states have gone to 10 lakh crores. The bigger subsidy is given by the state government. My government in Karnataka gives 1 lakh crore of subsidies, and they increase it by 55-60,000 crores after Siddaramaiah came to power. And we are the richest state in India with the highest per capita income. Yet he says 80% of Kannadigas require ration, 5 kg free rice, and 60% of women above 21 require 2,000 rupees a month. While for he is not spending money on higher education, 60 to 70% of faculty positions in government colleges and universities are not being filled up by permanent faculty. There's no permanent faculty. What is the biggest gift we can give our children? A good higher education. We need good faculty. Don't have permanent faculty. Spend on higher education. Spend on infrastructure. He is borrowing money to pay subsidies. So it is not a union government problem as much as the state government problem. Especially in the richest state of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Telangana. In Telangana, the chief minister said he has no money for other things, he's paying subsidies. Now, this is a real problem. Let us spend on higher education. Let us spend on innovation. Let us spend on technology. Let us spend on, let us say, internship. For example, they announced the internship program last year. In the budget, if you look at the figures, the outlay has been cut. Outlay was some 10,000 crores. I think it's cut to some 2,000 to 3,000 crores. They've not been able to implement it. We need jobs, jobs, and jobs. Incentivize job creation. Focus on job creation, like Suhail said. That's the number one priority for India. Our young people want good jobs. Give them good.
The government's not doing enough for job creation, Mohan.
Not doing enough.
Why is that, Mohan? Can you elucidate?
Yes,
And
you see, they had an internship.
Ran Infosys. Infosys is a stellar company. You ask Mohandas Pai, why didn't Infosys, with all its geniuses, ever create a Facebook or a Google? I'll tell you why. Not that Infosys lacks the intellect. They lack the ecosystem that a country should provide.
Absolutely.
You need to demarcate.
No. A lot of agreement going on here.
Absolutely.
Let me give an example. Let me give an example. China spent $150 billion on AI in the last 7 years. They are a top superpower in AI. How much did we spend? Some 500 crores, 1,000 crores. We announced 11,000 crores. We hardly spend any money. Even this year, the budgeted figure for AI has not been spent. What are we doing? We need to spend 50,000 crores a year at least on innovation when we spend 10 lakh crores on giving subsidies, but in the state and the center.
Because the people who are running artificial intelligence in the government have native stupidity. The people running artificial intelligence in the government have native stupidity. You are spending 10,000 crores you have allocated. That is 1.3 billion US dollars. It's nothing. Huh?
12 over 5 years. Please, over 5 years.
So there you are. And in 5 years, we'll all be dead or old.
Yes. And the speed of change is so much. Where are we spending enough money on innovation? Arnab, today,
we are giving you
the
a
insurance
reality
companies,
check, my friend. We are giving you a reality check. We love our country. We love our country. We love what the Prime Minister is doing. And there's an old saying, only when you care do you complain. So please don't think we are being negative. We are being realistic and we are seeing the potential of India.
Arnab, let me give one more data.
1 minute.
Absolutely right.
1 minute. 1 minute. Yeah.
Arnab, let me give one more data. For example, in the last 10 years, China spent $842 billion on innovation and startups, US $2.32 trillion. We spent $170 billion, out of which 80% came from outside. What are we spending? Our insurance companies cannot invest in innovation and startup because of bad policy. Our pension fund cannot invest anything. University endowments cannot invest. There's an investment pattern which has not been changed. If you are an IIT, you can't put money directly from a corpus into your startups in your own university.
Can you imagine?
What kind of stupid policy is that? Why can't they do it directly? They can't put their own money because the investment policy doesn't allow. We asked Sanjeev Sanyal to change all that. He's promised to do it. We returned to government and they just don't care. They don't listen to you. We have to invest in innovation. We are at a cusp in the human evolution when innovation has become the largest value driver. It's going to destroy jobs. We got to train our people in AI. We say we're going to train school children in AI. It doesn't matter. School children are not going to earn money. It takes 10 years for them to grow up. We got to train our graduates. We got to spend money on AI. We got to spend money on creating cloud infrastructure. Look at the policy. If a foreigner comes, set up cloud infrastructure and supplies to outside, tax exemption. If you and I set it up here, nothing. We don't get tax exemption. Why not give it to everybody to create capacity so the poor Indian can use hyper cloud technology in India at a lower cost? You're incentivizing foreigners to come and do it here. Why not the poor Indians? Now look, these are all lopsided policies which have to change. We need to say we want focus on human capital, on good higher education. We want focus on innovation. We want focus on AI because the speed of change is so much. We're going to have a big AI.
No, I think we're making mistakes. You know, I'll tell you one thing. I just got news. I don't believe any government is infallible. I just got news that there has been a tweet by the government of Pakistan. Look at this Mohandas Pai, 4 trillion economy. I have been saying repeatedly, I've been saying repeatedly, just because some broadcasters want to make money, some sponsors want to make money, don't let BCCI, ICC, this IPL group, this cricket group compromise national interest. Don't give Pakistan a chance. Don't give Pakistan a chance. And nobody has been responding. Sports ministry has been quiet. Modi government has been quiet. Now here's the tweet. Government of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan grants approval to the Pakistan cricket team to participate in the World Cup T20. However, the Pakistan cricket team shall not take the field in the match scheduled on 15th February against India. So we've done a massive stupidity. I don't understand what is wrong with the government of India, with the ICC, BCCI. We should hang our heads in shame. We should have put Pakistan in its place earlier, saying that we don't want to play cricket with you. We've been doing this stupidity of playing in neutral venues and all that. Right, Suhail? This is the biggest headline and we've done this to ourselves. Right, Suhail? I'm sorry I'm just moving away. But what's going on, Suhail? What is this? I can't hear Suhail. Audio up, please. Audio, music bed down,
the
audio.
Prime Minister of Pakistan says he's going around with his Asif Munir joker with a begging bowl. These guys don't have money to buy a glass of water. They're saying we will boycott. Karo boycott. Kya hoga? And we've got Jay Shah. He will make sure something devious happens to them, as it should. This is my problem. We get distracted by stupidity and inanities. We should have never played Pakistan because they are scoundrels. It is a rogue country led by 2 rogues. That Sharif Joker, who's not Sharif at all, and Munir.
But BCCI and ICC owe an explanation to the people of India for this. BCCI and ICC owe a solid explanation to the people of India. Rajiv Shukla trying to play this whole thing down. He's handled it so badly. ICC, Jay Shah, everybody's handled it badly. And Indian government should have taken a position on this.
Rajiv Shukla wants to win a popularity poll. Rajiv Shukla is the only person who will outlast the Gateway of India and India Gate because of his popularity. But he's not running our foreign policy. We have to have foreign policy people intervene. Dr. Jaishankar should actually rap people on the knuckles and say...
No, I think it's the government of India which needs to come in. I mean, this whole aspiration to host the Commonwealth in India, God knows why we are hosting the Commonwealth. Commonwealth is a dead concept. It's a dead concept. We want to host the Commonwealth Games in India. After Suresh Kalmadi, we should have never allowed it. This is a shame. And I'm putting it on record today. This is a terrible situation that we are in today. We have turned it into a spectacle. We should have put our foot a long time back on this. A long time back. Subhranshu, you're also stepping in on this because this is turning out to be a blazing headline.
Well, I'm just trying to find our way back to the budget. In fact, one thing which we haven't discussed.
This is a huge story. My 9 o'clock debate is going to be on this. We're going to open interactivity on this and we're going to slam the ICC and the BCCI and also the government of India, which has done a bad job of handling it. We should have thought this through.
Well, nevertheless, something that has not been discussed through the day, the government did announce a Khelo India mission where there's
there's no moving away from this, Subhranshu. There is no moving away from this. We had said it a long time back that you're playing a chess game with a country at whom you fired the BrahMos, and you're trying to play chess games with Pakistan. Mohandas Pai is coming in. Don't try to distract Subhranshu from this. Mohandas Pai, viewers, we will be debating this tonight. Mohandas Pai.
Another very good thing in the budget is the 20% increase in hardware for the armed forces. That's fantastic. They increased the allocation to the armed forces in 25-26 by 20%. And I think it's very good.
I agree with you.
Future defense is going to be fought by missiles and by air cover. And now we are investing heavily in that area. And we're going to be a big exporter. I think it continues. For example, in the revised budget for 25-26, there's a massive increase in the allocation this year itself. And again, for next year, there's a smaller increase. I think this is very good. The message goes that we are going to manufacture it ourselves. About 85-90% is being manufactured here. And we are going to invest much more. We're going to modernize our military. Now the total spending on armaments will be 29% of the budget, as against 22% or something like that. And that's very good news. That we must commend the government for this massive increase.
I commend the government. I'm going back to the budget debate, top man, bottom man, everything. I commend the government for the 2026 defense budget, which has laid a strong stress on defense Atmanirbharta. I commend the government for the fact that the defense ministry got the highest allocation among all ministries. The total defense budget is 14.67% of the central government expenditure, highest among all ministries. I am more hardline on these issues than the government or anyone in the government. I believe that this emergency procurement which has been allotted to the tune of 2.1 lakh crores should have been 5 lakh crores, and the people of the country should have been told that contribute. I would have said that the highest taxpayers of the country, upper middle class and above, should be given an opportunity to contribute, and people would contribute, because our capital expenditure we need to make on defense has to be huge. And the budget procurement for all indigenous platforms, we're not doing well enough. We are trying to build technology. Some of the technology that we are trying to build will take a very, very long time. We need to buy the technology and then build. We need to do much more in R&D. We need to make up for 30 years of slumber. So Mohandas Pai, I'm totally with you on that. And you, we totally commend it. This is a great decision by the government. One minute. More people agreeing with you. Today, everybody is agreeing with you. Today, everybody agrees.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Don't try to... No, listen. Are you trying to win favor with Mohan?
No.
You're trying to win some favor?
No, absolutely not. I agree with Mohandas Pai absolutely on every single point. You can be renamed as Mohandas Karamchand Pai also.
No, please, please. We are not all Gandhi fans. Please, we are not as great Gandhi fans as you think.
Very important that it is important on every...
Mohan.
Arnab, two more points I want to say. MSMEs have been recognized. Sohail made a statement, very good. MSMEs is not doing well. MSMEs will have a 10,000 crore equity fund. First time is very good. Make them grow up. And then central government PSUs will procure from the THREADS platform. So working capital will be much easier. And the industry should go. And they're going to have a THREADS platform guarantee fund. This is fantastic, because the biggest challenge for MSMEs is not market. Big guys don't pay. This is a rotten country where the big companies use the small man's money.
All this is very good, but why is there no allocation for the Chabahar port? Have we given in to the Americans and given up on the Chabahar port? I just saw here, if you see page 111 out here, there's a zero allocation against the Chabahar port. Is that a good thing? Should we give up on the Iranians overnight? Mohan, I know.
Arnab, we will debate that separately, but let us hear the good news. And the second good news is, Arnab, between Pune, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, we're going to have a high-speed rail. We can travel from Bangalore to Chennai in 1 hour, 10 minutes. Arnab, this is fantastic. I don't know when it will happen. At least we got hope now. Hyderabad, Chennai.
Make the graphics, show those wall graphics on the screen. Let me show the corridors. There are 6 of them, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Fire it out. There are six corridors that are going to be made. And we're going to go there sooner than you think. There are 6 fantastic corridors. Can we fire the graphics, please? 6 corridors, ladies and gentlemen. If we are looking at this, can we please fire it on the screen?
And Dhanuka
on the screen
to Surat.
Yeah, there it is.
Corridor. That's fantastic.
Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad.
Yes, look. They're recognizing South India for the first time. First time the golden triangle of South India is getting recognized. It's the most productive zone. Sohail, come to
1 minute. Sohail is countering you. Sohail to Mohandas Pai.
This is what I love. Mohandas Pai was a great James Thurber fan. Walter Mitty. Oh, corridor. They can't bloody repair the potholes in Gurugram. ये लोग corridor बनाएंगे? कमाल है यार. पहले गुरुग्राम को ठीक करो, Bangalore.
Anyway, you move to Noida. Noida is smarter than Gurugram these days. Thank you. Move to Noida. Move to Noida. Move to Noida, Sohail. Move to Noida.
Shiv Kumar to get a goddamn pothole repaired in Bangalore.
Move to Noida. Move to Noida. Move to Noida. We'll get you a corridor here.
There'll be a corridor. The only corridor there will be is the corridor of power with irresponsible people manning that corridor.
Anyway, the only irresponsible people.
Suhail, we'll give you a flying car, Suhail. In 3 years, we'll give you a flying car. You don't have to go on the potholes. Don't worry. There's a flying car company in Chennai. We have invested in.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the big debate tonight. The big debate tonight as I thank Mohandas Pai and Sohail Seth for that spirited session. Spirited session out there. And we got some breaking news. I want to go back to that before I introduce our next guest. Many people, I'll just give you 2 clues on our next guest. Very visible, very invisible of late, very visible, very high profile. Not seen much on camera of late, but not good, not good. Some people say they should have more of her. You see her on, now here's another clue. She's still on television, but she's not where she should be.
Arnab, you're sounding like Donald Trump.
No, I'm not describing Donald Trump. Oh, God, what a... Can any of us think beyond Donald Trump these days? No, I'm talking about Smriti Irani. She's having a laugh. Let's put her on air. Come on. Let's say hello to Smriti Irani. Come on. Now, put everybody on air. My guests are... my window makers are so cagey. Put everybody on air. Come, Aditi. We'll have people react to people, yeah. Oh, get Suhail back. Throw him out. God, who's doing my vision mixing today?
Okay, I'm telling you, these people have something against Gurugram.
You have a superstar, so can I leave?
No, don't leave. Say something. Did I describe her correctly there, Mohan? Sohail?
She's a superstar.
I think, no, to be fair, Smriti is unarguably amongst one of the brightest people in public service, and who has always consistently and constantly delivered, and her heart actually beats for Indians and India.
Yeah.
And she's the only person I know who actually goes to Davos for serious work, unlike half the other jokers who take an entourage which does no work. On that note...
You're describing somebody from a channel,
Maharashtra, Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra, and Jai Republic.
Okay, Sohail and Mohandas Pai, thank you very much. Thank you. See how she kept a straight face. She didn't respond to anyone nowadays. She's taken this, I won't respond to anyone kind of situation. I'm going to be unflappable. I'll be very serious. I'll be very statesman-like. But all this, why, Smriti? It's all right. It's all right. It's all right, Smriti. These people are trying to curry favor with you after slamming the government for the last...
I thought there were many...
20 minutes. Yes, Sohail?
I thought there were many who were hoping that I be extremely elegant when I'm erudite as well. I'm grateful to Mr. Seth for complimenting me and so graciously, knowing that there would be nothing more, I think, heartbreaking if you're at the receiving end of his political or social barbs. So for a legend like Sohail Seth to compliment you, I think it's a feather in my cap. And I mean it with all sincerity. So I'm grateful.
No, a lot of people happy to see you on TV.
For the kindness you've shown me.
A lot of people happy to see you on TV. A lot of, people who look upon you as the foremost and one of the foremost women leaders in public life, happy to see you here. Thank you very much and welcome. I'll give you the opening comment today, which is the broad stroke of what you see in the budget. If the one thing you were to decipher or pull out of the budget, what would that be, Smriti?
I think there are 2-3 issues that I'd like to articulate. One is the Biopharma Shakti announcement. We all know that the prowess of the Indian pharmaceutical ecosystem was best shown to the world during COVID. The fact that today global supply chains and vaccines at that, 60% of it emanates from Indian companies. 20% of the global generics come from India. That the largest lot of US FDA approved plants outside of the US are owned by Indian companies is a matter of great pride for Indians and India at large. The fact that the finance minister particularly looked at the biopharma possibilities of India, I think, is something to be taken note of. Secondly, the fact that there was a pronouncement of the rare earth corridor, the fact that India has the 3rd largest reserves in the world. However, our contribution to global production is a measly 1%. So to ensure that production and local, I think, industry which complements it can grow, this corridor is a welcome announcement. Electronics manufacturing is something that we in India have celebrated, seeing how much export growth we have seen in that one segment. The fact that a decade ago we were around $4 to $5 billion worth, and today we have surpassed that number. In fact, in some manner, grown 6 times. That particular sector has seen that promise, and today's announcement actually bolsters the prospect for that sector in our economy. As a woman, I'm extremely proud that 10 crore women today in self-help groups create a rural economy or grassroots economy worth $37 billion annually. And the She-Mart announcement, again, is something that I welcome. As a mother, I welcome the fact that today the finance minister found in that budget speech of her the space for girls' hostel in every district in STEM institutions. We have to recognize that 43% of STEM graduates in our country today are women. We have to recognize that when the government brought about a credit scheme which can make women at least enthuse them enough to take their credit scores across the country, saw women doing PhDs go up by 99%. So it is those interventions that have really gladdened my heart. As somebody who has served in the textile ministry, I was extremely pleased to see the announcements with regards to technical textile. And Arnab, I think you've been one of the witnesses of the India PPE production story, where India never had an HSN code for technical textiles as a segment. Prime Minister Modi led that and ensured that we had HSN codes. 2024, I think the exports were worth $3 billion. There's a projection in that in the next 3 years, it'll go up to $10 billion. So for technical textiles to find a mention in the speech, as much as handloom and handicraft, I think that balance is also something that I welcome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the budget did put a spotlight on textiles. You've been a very successful textile minister. And this time they spoke about cluster modernization, budget textile parks, Samarth 2.0, etc. And this will genuinely help. I agree with you on that. Now, a couple of things, that people are uneasy with so much subsidies, Ms. Smriti Irani, right? I mean, our teams here, analysts, everybody's been critical, saying, see, you are competing with each other on subsidy. You're going to run out of money, 10 lakh crore rupees put here, not in the most productive way. And the general feeling was, does anyone want to articulate this here? The general feeling was, Subhranshu, that the government, this BJP government would only believe in productive employment, productive investment.
I heard that the government is looking at the second horizon. It's a long-term budget, and yet the subsidy piece is perpetuated, and that leads to people just living on dole. This was the sense that I got from the previous
Why should people live on dole? Why should the government more and more encourage people to live on dole? Now, you can say, Smriti, this is not dole, this is necessary, this is part of social welfare, it has a domino effect, etc., etc. But it was not your policy 5 years back.
But equally that...
No, let her respond. Yeah.
I think that dole or... Yes. I think that when you talk about a subject like dole, one has to be pragmatic enough to recognize. For instance, if Prime Minister Modi had not extended the food security blanket onwards to the poorest of the poor in the country, just the budgetary impact, the negative impact of it, would have been something which would have economically become a challenge for all segments of our country. The fact that when the Prime Minister says, out of, let's say, the security blanket, build toilets or homes for the poorest of the poor. Let alone, if I just take the segment of sanitation. In the year 2010-11, there was a World Bank report which said that due to the lack of just structural availability of sanitation facility amongst the poorest of the poor in the country, there is a 6% negative impact on the GDP of India. So when you look at that balance, it is not dole. It is actually providing infrastructural support or life system support to a part of our population which gives rise to many and other economic activities. For instance, when we look at the self-help group model that I spoke about right now, if you look at Prime Minister Modi's economic largesse, that is how you want to define it, over 8 lakh crore rupees flew to these self-help groups over the last decade under Prime Minister Modi's leadership. But look at the NPA of all these women-owned ecosystems. It's less than 2%. So these women have shown fiscal discipline. Ours is one of the rarest of the rare countries in the world which has created affirmative action in public procurement through GEM, where there is a 3% available ecosystem for women-owned businesses to become a part of the government supply chain. Now that is not because it's a largesse or a dole. That is to support women-owned businesses that have shown fiscal prudence. So today when the government talks about a she-mart, it is not a dole. It is to provide a very, very comprehensive or
that's one example.
Market ecosystem.
That's one example. There could be many examples. There could be many examples.
Even in the rural economy, Arnab.
Pardon me?
So let's say today if the government says handcraft, if the government wants to help artisans, there are many schemes where the government reaches out to artisans in the poor segments and works with them. In the COVID era, we saw 1 lakh crore.
No, what about money being put directly in the pockets of people before an election? You say 2,000 rupees, 6,000 rupees in the pockets of women in a certain category, in a certain age group. That's not productive employment at all. That's direct cash transfer.
So if you look at the numbers from FMCG companies, Arnab, if you look at numbers from FMCG companies and the response of the rural economy and the spend by women in self-care product, there is a fillip given in that vertical as well. So it is showing economic dividends for corporate India as well.
No.
Before elections, giving 10,000 rupees, if Smriti ji is saying, is showing cascading impact on FMCG consumption, I think that is not the model. That is pure bribing. Because anything she-mart we are not questioning. We are not questioning the SSGs. We are not questioning anything that's done for artisans. But giving 10,000 rupees just before the election and saying that is increasing FMCG consumption is not an argument I would like to buy.
Okay, one. See, one. This is
10,000
one minute.
Seed
Yes,
money.
Ms. Irani.
Sir, allow me. 10,000 rupees as seed money to self-help groups is not bribery. And to say that women voters in this country can be bought off by 10,000 rupees, I think is a great insult to their not only mental faculties, but also them as citizens standalone who take political decisions not because somebody gave 10,000 rupees in a bank account.
No. Quick. Okay, we'll allow.
It is seed money given. So I would like you to reposition yourself on that particular announcement.
Madam,
one minute. Let's not. Don't be stuck. Don't be stuck on one point out here. The question here is that look at the broader picture. You want to corner Smriti entirely on this. It's not fair. This is one point being made. I think you made your point and she's made hers quite firmly. Can I move on to other points out here? You see, the big issue is, and you've been traveling globally a lot. Since the 2024 general election, you've not been in the cabinet, but you've been representing India differently in various forums globally. Are we prepared for a world, Ms. Irani, where no global supply chain may be guaranteed to us, in the sense that we have no permanent friends anymore, right? In a world of shifting alliances, the biggest vulnerability of India is that we cannot depend on any global supply chain to be there on our side in the event of a crisis. So are we prepared enough for that? And I was looking at today's decisions on data, defense, nuclear, biopharma, logistics. I thought there is some pattern that's developing out here, that we are beginning to say, or maybe Prime Minister Modi has sat in a room.
I think the rare earth corridor.
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah, you want to.
Is one of the greatest indications of the same.
Please elaborate. Yes, please elaborate.
That we are the largest consumption market. Is a given. But we at the same time have enough capacities to ensure that manufacturing may be precision manufacturing or manufacturing done at a very small scale, at the scale of SMEs and MSMEs. Both have the attention of the government. That border infrastructure